Petrol in Malaysia is among the cheapest in the world, and a key reason for this is government subsidies. In Malaysia, we pay 2 ringgit 5 cent per litre for RON 95. But this cheap petrol comes at a hefty price. In 2022, the government spent 42 billion ringgit on fuel subsidies. That's enough money to buy 140,000 affordable homes priced at 300,000 ringgit each.
Here we can see total subsidies for the petroleum. Of the year of 2019, the total subsidies for the petroleum is 6.32 billion. The pre-pandemic situation has made the government focus more on the health facilities department due to the world emergency situation. At this time, the government spends billions of ringgit on healthcare facilities in order to reduce the COVID-19 cases in the country. The pre-pandemic also makes the people to reduce the usage of petroleum, which leads to an excessive amount of petroleum, and this is also one of the reasons for the lower allocation petroleum subsidies in 2019. Next, for the year of 2020, the total subsidies for the petroleum is 2.16 billion. This is because the allocation is more than enough for the people because there is a lockdown situation where the usage of the petroleum has decreased by almost 80% from the daily usage of an ordinary person. The government allocation has been reduced because of the government has spent on other sectors according to the current needs, such as to the health department. To reduce the spending was also due to the global crude oil falling significantly as a result of an oil war among the oil producing countries. Next, for the year 2021, the total subsidies for petroleum is 8 billion. This is mainly because of the startup of the economy again after a long break from the COVID-19 pandemic situation. All the significant sectors have started to emphasize their daily tasks, and the petroleum usage has started to increase day by day. Following the increase in commodity prices at the global level, and the subsidies for the petroleum products such as RON 95 petrol, diesel, LPG as well as the subsidized cooking oil are expected to increase sharply to reduce the burden for the consumers. The most significant surge occurred in 2022 with the subsidies soaring to 28 billion. The Minister of Finance said that world crude oil prices increased sharply to the level of USD 100 per barrel, which is the highest level since 2014 due to the war in Russia and Ukraine. On the graph we can see clearly the petroleum subsidy allocation by the government from the year of 2000 to 2022. In the year of 2019 to 2020, the allocation have been increased. Next, from the year of 2020 to 2021, the allocation have been increased. The most significant increase can be seen in 2022, where the allocation is almost 30% due to the war of Ukraine and Russia. Why does the government give subsidies for petroleum? First, to alleviate financial strain for the consumer, so that the consumer no need to pay more to get the product. The purchasing power of consumer also will increase. Second, to alleviate financial strain for the producer, to reduce the cost of production so that the producer can produce the product in a reasonable price. Are getting subsidies for petroleum. First, reserve for Malaysian registered vehicles. What is Malaysian registered vehicles? It's an official process that provides a legal document of the vehicle and paid all the road legal taxes in Malaysia. Second, all foreign registered vehicles are not allowed to buy RON 95 in Malaysia. For example, our neighbor countries such as Thailand and Singapore registered vehicles are prohibited from using RON 95 petroleum in our country. This is because RON 95 petrol is only subsidized for Malaysian registered vehicles only. Besides that, they can use RON 97 and above for their vehicles. Impact on raw materials if the petroleum prices increases. First, increase production costs. As the cost of material like crude oils goes up, it becomes more expensive for manufacturing companies to produce the product. This is because the cost for the resources, machinery, tools, and other related costs will start to increase. For example, when the petroleum prices start to increase, to produce a plastic bottle, all other related costs to produce a plastic bottle will start to increase, such as in the cost of machinery, chemical, and other related product. This will lead to increase in the production cost. This also will lead to the increase in the price of that product. Next, higher transportation costs. Rising petroleum prices often results in increased transportation costs. For example, when the petroleum prices increases, the transportation costs will start to increase. This will impact both parties, which are the consumers and the business. For the transportation business, this may increase their business costs when they need to expend more in the petroleum to do their business in the transportation. This will lead the business to increase their fares in the transportation. Next, for the consumer, they will face an increase in the transportation fares, such as increase in bus tickets. The customers need to spend more in order to get the same tickets. Regulation result of changes in input costs of production of main sectors after the removal of fuel subsidy. There are several sectors such as agriculture, mining and quarrying, manufacturing, construction services, and service will be increased in the cost of production when the removal of a fuel subsidy or decrease in fuel subsidies. Comparison between price of transportation before subsidies and after subsidies. The statement are telling that bus fares from the Changlun to Kuala Lumpur without the subsidies, the price is almost 85 ringgit, and after the subsidies the price drops to 50 ringgit. Same goes to the taxi hailing fares from Changlun to Jitra. Without the subsidies, the price is 70 ringgit, and after the subsidies the price drops to 45 ringgit. From here we can see that the subsidies will reduce the amount of fares that should be paid by the consumer or the customers. So from the bar chart, we can see the blue color chart is before the subsidies and orange color chart is after the subsidies.
Subsidies reduction from our government rather than the immediate oil price at this level. However, if the oil price will go beyond $110 a barrel, then it is likely to impact on practically almost every sector, because energy prices will increase, and then the transportation costs will increase, and therefore I think we'll see even a higher inflationary pressure.
Land Public Transport Commission SPAD has announced new rates for taxi and express bus fares. Distance fares for budget taxis in Kuala Lumpur will increase from 10 cent for 150 meters to 25 cent per 200 meters, while express bus fares will rise from 9.3 cent per kilometers to 11.4 cent per kilometers from April 1st. According to a SPAD fact sheet, this means an express bus ticket to Ipoh from KL will cost 25 ringgit 30 cent instead of 20 ringgit 60 cent previously. Taxis can impose the new rate as soon as their meters are calibrated, and there will be a grace period.
Impact on raw materials if the petroleum prices decreases. First, reduce production costs. Many industries rely on petroleum-based product as a raw material for manufacturing. A decrease in the petroleum prices can lead to reduced production costs. For example, when the petroleum prices decreases, the cost of the production will start to reduce. When the cost of the production reduces, this may lead to increase in the supply, and the price quoted for the product will be lower because the production cost is lower. For the customer, the purchasing power will be start to increase, which means the consumer can purchase a lot of product with respective amount of cash. Next is margin improvement. Companies involved in transportation and logistics may experience improved profit margins due to reduced fuel costs, which can positively affect their financial performance to the peak.
Soalan kedua, bagaimanakah Encik percaya subsidi petroleum di Malaysia ini memberi impak yang positif kepada keseluruhan bajet tahunan?
Subsidi merupakan satu rangsangan kepada ekonomi. Rangsangan ekonomi ini dari segi kos operasi sebuah firma dan ia membantu syarikat-syarikat tertentu untuk mengurangkan kooperasi. Satunya meningkatkan daya saing dari segi syarikat-syarikat tertentu, dari segi harga impek barang kepada segi pasaran domestik ataupun pasaran antarabangsa. Terutamanya pasaran antarabangsa. Ia kos operasi terlalu tinggi. Kos bahan api, terutamanya bahan api dari segi operasi firma, dari segi kos pengangkutan, kos dari segi tenaga. Jadi dia akan menekankan kos. Positifnya dia dapat mengurangkan kos kepada syarikat-syarikat.
Type of subsidies. Production subsidy. This type of subsidy is provided to encourage the production of a product. The government gives incentives to manufacturers to reduce their expenses while increasing their output. As a result, production and consumption grow, but the price remains the same. The drawback of such an incentive is that it may promote overproduction. Consumption subsidy. This happens when the government reduces the cost of food, education, healthcare and water.
Some subsidies become leakages. First, lack of targeting. Subsidies intended to benefit specific groups such as low-income households and certain industries. First, for example, the subsidies should be targeted to certain amount of people such as B40 and M40 family groups. These will be more appropriate subsidies to be given to the people who really needed of this kind of subsidies. This will create more opportunities for targeted people to benefit the subsidies and not to people who are capable to purchase the petroleum without the subsidy price. This will reduce the allocation for the subsidies from the government and increase the amount of targeted beneficial person. Cross-border smuggling. For example, the people from neighbor country such as Thailand start to smuggle the Malaysian subsidized petroleum with a lot of techniques and resell the petrol in higher prices in their adjacent nation. This will harm the government allocation and subsidies that are given to Malaysian people only.
Iaitu apakah pandangan Cik terhadap ketirisan bahan api yang berlaku di negara kita?
Okey, pada pandangan saya, ketirisan petroleum ini berlaku di negara kita ini sepatutnya tidak berlaku di negara kita. Kerana subsidi bahan api ini hanyalah untuk rakyat Malaysia sahaja. Namun terdapat segelintir masyarakat yang salah gunakan subsidi ini. So ini menyebabkan pembaziran peruntukan kewangan di negara kita. Salah satu cara untuk mengurangkan ketirisan bahan api petroleum ini adalah dengan menguatkuasakan undang-undang di negara kita.
There is insufficient manpower to monitor the purchase of RON 95 by foreign-owned vehicles, says Petrol Dealers Association of Malaysia President Khairul Anwar Abdul Aziz. He said the authorities were monitoring the situation, but it was not feasible to constantly monitor all vehicles at petrol stations purchasing RON 95, which is subsidized heavily by the government to keep it at 2 ringgit 5 cents a litre for Malaysians, despite soaring prices of oil globally. Vehicles owned by foreigners are supposed to use RON 97, which sells at 3 ringgit 91 cents a litre. Khairul said it may require up to 10 people at the pumps at any one time to ensure RON 95 is only used by locals.
It has always been blanket subsidies, and there is a lot of leakages due to that. We have been hearing about complaints with regards to this, the subsidies leaking to those who don't really need it, or who are not in the category of should be taking it. So with targeted subsidies, we will be looking at the categories of people who will be the beneficiary. We will be looking at the collection of the data, and then we will be looking at the mechanism on how we will implement the targeted subsidies. We believe that when we implement it and it is in place, then those who really need it will get it in the form of cash assistance.
Soalan terakhir, apakah pandangan Cik terhadap ketirisan bahan api yang berlaku di negara kita?
Langkah-langkah kawalan perlu diperketatkan untuk di sepadang-sepadang antarabangsa seperti Thailand, di Singapura, di Kedah, Kelantan dan sebagainya. supaya penghidupan ni dapat dikurangkan.
Of petroleum subsidies to society in Malaysia. Advantage for society. First, subsidies on petroleum can benefit society in the short term by lowering the cost. People can purchase all the products in a lower price. This will increase the purchasing power for the consumer. The consumer can purchase more product with lower amount of money. Next is they also have a long-term consequences for the public finance. For example, this may lead for the customers or the consumer to overconsume rather than savings.
Petroleum di Malaysia memberikan impak positif kepada rakyat yang diperuntukkan daripada keseluruhan bajet tahunan kita.
Okay, saya percaya subsidi petroleum di Malaysia memberi impak positif kepada rakyat kerana subsidi ini boleh membantu mengawal harga barangan dan perkhidmatan di negara kita. Selain itu, subsidi ini juga boleh membantu menstabilkan harga bahan api di negara kita.
The impact of petroleum subsidies to government in Malaysia. Advantage for government. It has the potential to redirect funds to more sustainable and inclusive development initiative. Next, advantage for government. Due to the fluctuation in the global petroleum price, this will intend the government to spend more in subsidies due to the global fluctuation situation. This also may lead the government to reduce the expenses on the other sector that will give a drawback in countries' economics. When the spending are becoming higher for the petroleum subsidies, this will lead the government to get fund from other resources that will increase the government debt.
Soalan pertama, apakah pendapat anda tentang keburukan subsidi petroleum kepada masyarakat Indonesia?
Okey. Pertama, subsidi akhirnya merupakan satu beban kepada kerajaan. Tadi baru dibayar kepada kerajaan. Mana subsidi ini satu beban. Mana kerajaan terpaksa tanggung satu peruntukan bajet tertentu kepada masyarakat Indonesia, itu untuk menurunkan harga minyak atau menstabilkan harga minyak atau mengurangkan kos operasi suatu sektor. Jadi subsidi memang satu beban, tetapi walaupun
Should the government keep the subsidy scheme in the coming years?
Iaitu patutkah kerajaan meneruskan subsidi petroleum pada tahun-tahun yang akan datang?
Ia perlu kerana kos sara hidup semakin hari semakin meningkat. So ini menyebabkan jika tiada subsidi pada masa akan datang, ini akan menyebabkan harga barangan meningkat, harga perkhidmatan meningkat, harga bahan api juga akan meningkat. So ini akan menyebabkan rakyat perlu kerja lebih keras dan perlu membiayai kos perbelanjaan yang terlalu tinggi pada masa akan datang. So ini akan menyebabkan rakyat tertekan dengan kos sara hidup yang meningkat secara
Soalan kelima, patutkah kerajaan meneruskan subsidi petroleum pada tahun yang akan datang?
Okey. Itu kerajaan patut lagi beri sebab golongan kita ni tidak mencapai lagi negara berpendapatan tinggi. Jauh lagi. Makna kumpulan sasarnya seperti B40 terlalu tinggi lagi. Jadi golongan ni perlu dibantu berterusan. Okey, supaya kesan daripada ekonomi global ni tidak mengurangkan impak kepada golongan ni. Okey, walaupun begitu kita kena ada satu perancangan yang gitulah supaya subsidi tadi tidak dimanfaatkan kepada golongan yang tak sepatutnya dapat.